Greetings to all my crestfallen cavemen out there. This is D.S. Lyons of the Movie Blues, and I'm positively chomping at the bit to get into our spoiler-free review of Out of Darkness, a new Caveman Horror movie and the brutal feature debut of Andrew Cumming. I don't know about you, but as a never-endingly ravenous horror fan, one of my favorite subgenres is ancient historical horror. Not a lot of movies go fully into this genre, with classics like The Revenant, From Hell, Apocalypto, and TV shows like Season 1 of The Terror dipping their toes into the historical horror realm, often not fully committing. After all, simply portraying ancient times as they were is horrifying enough without a beast or a demon. I mean, just imagine living in a world with no soap and no toothpaste. Blah! My wife wouldn't even have her little pack of breath mints in her purse. Out of the Darkness isn't afraid to take the full plunge, though, offering up a tense, hair-raising, and brutally tactile horror movie. If you would have told me ahead of time that this was one of those movies that went out of its way to create a fictional language for authenticity's sake, I think I would have been a little bit skeptical. It was only about 20 minutes into the film when I looked up the spoken language of the Paleolithic cavemen of its central story and found out that it was a fully invented language for the film, hovering somewhere between Arabic and ancient Basque.
Tola is our made-up language.
We brought in a languages expert to invent a language that takes parts of Basque, takes part of Sanskrit, takes parts of Arabic.
This extra effort for the portrayal of an ancient people is just one of the many ways that Out of Darkness achieves its authenticity.
Any scene where we get to bounce around and throw this wonderful language about, I very much enjoy.
This is a film that uses its score, cinematography, location, and its ever-present mood to create a truly effective horror film. Most films for my channel or on my couch are experienced somewhat passively, I'll admit that, because it's like coupled with note-taking or occasional breaks for cooking or walking the dog. Hey, I haven't quit my day job yet. But Out of Darkness had me positively gripped for its runtime, and when the credits rolled, I realized that I had been leaning an inch from my computer screen, with my head in my hands for so long that my wrists had literally fallen asleep. Also, I assume my head weighs quite a lot. Now, without spoiling much, because again, on this channel with new movie reviews, I try to keep things completely spoiler-free, Out of Darkness is a movie that is as unique and chilling as a movie with this premise could really be. After all, this is another lingering pandemic production, being filmed with an extremely sparse crew during lockdown in the hills of Scotland. But unlike a lot of pandemic-era films where it's pretty damn obvious that the movie was made under a bevy of restrictions, Out of Darkness uses the real-life isolation of its circumstances to amplify the sheer loneliness and horror of being in a new and mysterious land, with nothing more than a spear and the will to live. If you're willing to squint hard enough, you can see the effects of a pandemic-stricken world on the story of Out of Darkness, with a lot of the film revolving around the ideas of blindly following a headstrong, irresponsible leader into a dangerous and hopeless situation, causing innocent people to perish out of hubris and lack of proper knowledge of the world around them. I mean, you can do the math. I'm not making the direct comparison here.
Oh, come on, do it, you freaking coward!
Sorry, Bluesbot, I'm not getting political here. I'm gonna save my untarnished, untortured hide for next week when I review Godzilla x Kong, and probably get tarred and feathered by a group of 1,000 virgins.
Why, what's wrong with Godzilla being pink? You will respect that lizard's pronouns.
Oh my god, enough. You keep this shit up and I'm gonna get the magnet out, I swear to God.
Harumph.
Anyway. The brutality of the Paleolithic era is breathlessly portrayed here in almost every conceivably painful way. From the pangs of starvation to the lack of medicine, to the frustrating ignorance of a society where the lights of the night sky are every bit as unknown as the creatures that wait in the darkness. And this is just the perfect paranoid setting for a horror movie. A setting this primitive helps to alleviate the plot holes of the average horror movie in 2024. I mean, nobody needs to say, hey, I don't get service out here, as they tap their cell phone like a maniac. And you surely won't find yourself screaming, just call the cops! Over and over again while watching this movie play out. Plus, there's just such an overwhelming mountain of tension that comes from the survivalist aspect of everyday life in this time period, before a single thing goes bump in the night. Much like Neil Marshall's fantastic movie The Descent, there is such care and effort put into the tension leading up to the horror that the film can truly be appreciated on more than one conceivable level. The musical score here by Adam Janota Bazowski, oh boy, was a huge part of what made this movie so involving. The music of Out of Darkness is every bit as primal, percussive, and brutal as the people who inhabit the ancient world it takes place in. There were so many moments in this film where the score became its own pervasively lumbering character, punctuating moments of shocking violence and unknowable ancient mystery with creepy and foreboding bravado. With the potent combination of this film's terrific score and haunting 3D audio, Out of the Darkness would probably land as a terrifying experience for even a blind person. But thankfully, I still have eyes.
Do I have eyes, master?
Not anymore, Bluesbot.
Oh no!
Where we're going, you don't need eyes to see!
Oh
This movie had one jaw-dropping, desolate vista after another. The setting of this film begins in a burnt red, barren, and brutalist landscape before it shifts around the halfway point to a verdant green nightmare. The mist-ridden forests and windswept rocky hills of Scotland turned out to be an absolute perfect setting for a movie like this. Director Andrew Cumming especially used negative space in this film to terrific and terrifying heights, with so many of these shots just yawning to draw you into some unknown terror. The visuals and overall thick atmosphere of this film reminded me of everything from the opening of Prometheus, which also featured a caveman-era Earth with gorgeous photography. I found myself also thinking a lot of the movies The Ritual, the fantastic Ridley Scott show The Terror, and even the terrific opening to the X-Files movie from 1998 with honestly one of the strongest cold opens of any sci-fi movie from that decade, transporting you to the Neanderthal era as a terrified caveman faces off against an alien menace. Truth be told, whether it's Far Cry Primal or A Quest for Fire, media has tried tackling stories of the first men time and time again. Yet I really think that Out of Darkness captured the struggle of our ancestors in a pretty morbid and unforgettable way, and achieved that primitive brutality in ways that not a lot of films can. For its brutality, originality, and aesthetic brilliance, Out of Darkness is a brisk, unforgettable, and terrifying look into the war-torn and primal nature of the first men to walk and talk on planet Earth. And it uses a cracking horror narrative to amplify the violent and beastly aspects of an ancient Earth. All in all, this was a great, effective little horror movie, and I wish that I would have caught it when it was in theaters for a brief run at AMC. You always got to keep your eyes out these days for showtimes of stuff like this that you may not recognize. I mean, it's a flash in a pan, a weekend, and it's gone. But I'm here to tell you that Out of Darkness is worth a rental. It's worth your investigation. Apparently, it's been on the award circuit since 2022, and it's finally starting to gain some much-earned traction. Make sure to check this one out as soon as you can. It's definitely worth the price of a rental. Support smaller films like this that have tons of ambition. What can go wrong? Other than that, I am DS Lyons of the Movie Blues, and we will see you soon.
Because I love you, and I love you, and I love you, and I've seen all your movies, and I love your movies, and I think you're the best.